Hello, my name is Carl Surrey and this is a video tutorial for the Facebook group called Fans of Serif Software. Now in this tutorial I'll be looking at Affinity Photo on the PC, but it should work just as well on the Mac, and I want to have a look at using and or making picture frames and then adding pictures, your own pictures to those frames, either using blending modes or selecting a certain area. So to start off with, this is sort of all came about by a comment that was left by a group member, Dave Garbutt, about him having some problems with getting images to fit inside some frames that he had. This may answer his question, but even if it doesn't, hopefully this will help somebody who may want to do something similar. Now I've set up this document here and I'm going to upload this document to the file section of the group, Facebook group, so it can be downloaded and you can follow along or just use it or do whatever you want with it really. But basically it's an A4 document. I just made the background blue. I then set up 4 frames which were white inside with a black frame, and then 4 frames with the black inside with the white frames, and I have grouped them all together. As you can see here, we had the white frames and the black frames. So now the thing about them being in groups, as you can see, the blending mode is currently set at pass through, which I'm not 100% certain of the sort of facts and science behind all this, but as I understand it, the pass through blending mode, which is set to onto a group, means that sort of everything within that group will accept the mode that is set for this. So we're currently on the black frames, and the thing that you want to use with black and white is either screen blending mode or multiply blending mode. So if I come down to multiply, as you can see here, multiply removes the white, so you can see the blue background through the back, but the frames are staying the same. So if I set that now to multiply, all 4 of those will accept the same blending mode. If I come to the white frame ones, these would need, because we want to remove the black to leave the white frames, these would need to be like screen. Where's screen? I always lose. It must be here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Yeah, screen. So as you can see, because this will be the screen blending mode, you can now see the blue background behind, and the white frames are safe in this blending mode. But you can do, if you want, I'm not 100% certain why you'd want to, but you could open up this group and say just select one of the frames. Let me put this onto the move tool, then we know which frame we're talking about. Right, this frame here, and you could alter the blending mode just of that layer within the group. So that one you can see through the black, but these 3 haven't been altered yet. Like I said, I'm not 100% certain why you'd want to do that. It's far easier to alter them all as a group. Yes, right. So that is those 2 groups with the blending modes changed to either screen or multiply. But what I will just quickly do is I will change these back to normal, pass-through I should say. Okay. And I will highlight the bottom layer, and now we just want a couple of images to go into this, so I'm going to use these two. I've got two images here, this one and this one, which I got from Pixabay.com. So I'm just going to select all, edit, copy, come back to the frame image, and again make sure that the bottom layer is the one highlighted, edit and paste. Now if I now come to the move tool, you can see that this image is much bigger, especially in the landscape mode, than the background itself, but I'm going to reduce this in size. I'm going to put the cursor over one of the corners, press and hold the control key, and then click and drag this inwards, and then I'm just going to position it roughly behind this image here, and let me zoom in a bit and we can see better. And I'm going to get this pretty much as best I can, because holding down the control key while you move these in will keep the proportions. So I do have a little bit of the image being hidden, that will be hidden behind the black here, and the same goes for the top. In fact, I can probably just drag this in a little bit more. Let me just nudge this up using the arrow keys. Now, as you can see here, this image would lose, will not be visible down this side and this side. So this is where you will probably have to just distort your images slightly. So I'm not going to hold down any keys, Alt, Control or Shift. I'm just going to click and drag this over to there, and that slightly over there, so it just goes behind the black border. So if I then change the blending modes of these black frames to multiply, as you can see, that, let's go back to the background, that image now shows through. If I press Control and 0, that image is now within that frame, and some of it is slightly behind the black frame, so there is no join or no visible join between the frame and the image. So if I do something similar with this, select all, edit, copy, come back to this one here, select the bottom layer, and then edit, paste. So I'm just going to put this one in here. Just zoom in up here. Now you don't have to wait to change the blending mode until after you've put the image in position. You could no, it's this one here. I want white frames, yes, so I want this to be set to screen. Then come to the image that I want to place, come to the corner, hold down the control key, and sometimes you're lucky and it will fit, because I can still keep increasing the size of this as long as it's behind the white border. That's not too bad. I'll just drag this down slightly, and I just need to nudge this down a little bit here, maybe a little bit that way. There you go. I'll press Ctrl and Z to zoom out. So there you can see that either by having screen or multiply, and the images are placed in between the background layer and the layer with the frames on. They will be behind the frames but on top of the background layer, and you can make up the, finish off filling all these in as you feel like it. So that would be the end of this part. So like I said, I will upload this frame setup here to the file section of the Facebook group for fans of serif software, so you can download it and use it if you so wish. Now this next frame, this doesn't have a black or white background, so your approach needs to be different. Again, this is one I got from Pixabay.com. So let's go with this skiing man one. Technically it says it's selected, but I will just select all again just to make sure. Edit, copy, come to this image, and the background was automatically highlighted, so I can just edit and paste, and come to the move tool, come to the corner, hold down a control key and just alter its size. I've gone a bit too far there. Just hold down a control key again just to reduce its size. It's just a case of, there we go. I think that's pretty much within the frame. And in this instance, we're trying to stay within the boundaries and not go too much over the frame, because we're going to use a different blending mode. Because I want the let me just hide that again. I want some of this texture that, I've gone to the effort of downloading a frame with some texture. I want to use that texture, so multiplying screen wouldn't work in this case. So if I come down the different blending modes, you find one that you like the look of. Because like I said, multiply, in fact multiply is not too bad because it is allowing that texture to show through, but screen isn't. In fact, I think the one I ended up quite liking was average, which is there. It's a little bit light, but for me it brought through more of the texture that is behind. So I will select that one, and what I will do is I will just add an adjustment layer, which is levels, and I will just alter the settings for this slightly, and then it has also affected the background. I could have merged it into that layer, but I quite like the fact that it's altered the outside frame just that little bit as well. So what blending mode you use on a frame that doesn't have a black or white inside, I will leave up to you. And now this last one is, where is it? An image like this, where again I've got this texture here, but I don't want that texture to be part of the picture, and obviously I can't really use a blending mode because it's not really black or white. So what we need to do is make a selection here. Now what selection tool you use, I will leave up to you, but I'm just going to make a fairly quick selection area using the pen tool to start off with. I'm trying to be as subtle as possible, but as quick as possible. But obviously, if you were doing this yourself, you would take a much more time over the selection area that you're going to make. Right, I think that last one was a bit haywire. Let's go and have a quick look at that. Oh yes, I was well off with that last one. If I press Control and Z, and then I'll come down one, and then up to there. That's a bit better. I'll press Control and 0 to come out again. So now I've made this selection area. We can either make it a selection or a mask, and I'm going to go with a selection. So it has selected that area, and then I'm just going to quickly zoom in because I just want to sort of remove some of this here. So I'm going to use the selection brush tool and have it's actually on subtract at the moment, but just make sure it's on subtract, and then I'm going to lower the brush size down quite a bit, and I've also taken snap to edges off. No, hang on. Right. Then I'll come to add selection, and I'm going to do the circle on the inside and just a few bits around the outside. Right, and as you can see here, I've just missed a little bit of this corner of the camera. Like I said, you would do a much better selection than I'm doing. I'm just doing it very quickly. So I've got this selection area here, so if I just press the delete key, that would now be removed, that area. I can press the Control and D to get rid of that. So I can then get my picture, select all, edit, copy, come back to my image, and then edit, paste. And if I click and drag this layer below the background layer, like so, and come to the move tool, I can then reduce the size and press hold control key and reduce the size of this, and then just keep altering and moving it to suit what it is you want this image to show. Alright, I will leave that there a second, and I'll just do a quick zoom in, because I think, as you can see, because I did a very quick selection, I must have missed part of this frame here. Just to double check. Yeah, because that image does go well over the frame, under the frame, so really that shouldn't have been visible there, but that is my mistake because I was doing this very quickly. But I'm sure you get the idea of what it is I'm trying to say is, you know, by making a selection and deleting the selection, you could then put the image behind the frame image. So this is a ways of using frames, be it using blend modes of multiply and screen. If you have a white or black inside, it doesn't really matter what the frame color is, as long as there's not too much black or white in it. As long as the inside is black or white, you can use those two blending modes. Or if you have a textured blending mode, textured frame, you can use a blending mode that suits your taste. And lastly, if you have a frame that you don't want the texture or the color, make a selection of it, delete it, and use it that way. So I hope in some way this will have answered Dave's query, but either way, I'm hoping it is of some help to anyone and everyone out there. So thank you for watching, and goodbye.